Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with Craig, where we talk about all things firearms, firearms policy, politics, culture, media, you name it. We're talking about it right here on Coffee with Craig. So please take a moment, like and share the program so that your friends can join in the conversation. Also, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. And in both cases, make sure you hit the notification button. That way, you'll be notified as soon as we go live, and you can participate in the live chat as the program is going on. Finally, make sure you visit FPCgear.com. It's FPCgear.com. It's the place to go to get all of your t-shirts, coffee mugs, hoodies, all of the paraphernalia, Pro 2A paraphernalia or swag you want. It's all right there, and we're always uploading new designs. So, by the way, don't forget that if you that every dollar that you spend goes right back into the fight for our right to keep and bear arms. So what's cool about it is you can support the Second Amendment and you can look good doing it. That's FPCgear.com. All right, so you guys know that many states are passing laws that are legalizing in some cases, just the medical use of marijuana, and in some cases, they're passing laws that legalize the recreational use of marijuana. Well, this is causing a lot of headache and consternation in a lot of states for gun owners because federally, you're in a little bit of danger in dealing with marijuana in terms of how it affects your right to be able to own or possess firearms. And we have a case that we're working on in the state of Maine that I'd like to have Mr. Adam Kraut, our Director of Legal Strategy, tell you guys a little bit about. So, Adam, how are we doing today?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. So now, do me a favor and let our viewers know just a little bit about this case and why FPC decided to get involved in it.
Sure. So we decided to participate as an amicus in a brief to the Maine Judicial Court, sitting as the law court, which is their Supreme Court. Interestingly enough, I found this out. They have no intermediate appellate court, so there was the trial court, and then the appeal goes right up to the tippy top. The case was of interest because it dealt with firearms and marijuana, and being of the liberty-minded mindset, I would think that we think that people should be able to choose what substances they ingest, particularly if there's a medicinal value to it, and be able to exercise their constitutional right to keep and bear arms. So the facts of this one were fairly straightforward. Maine is one of the states that has legalized medicinal marijuana. The individual was pulled over. He was asked if there was marijuana in the back seat, to which he responded yes, and that he believed he was able to possess up to a certain amount, and that certain amount was consistent with what Maine would allow medical users to have. He was then also asked if he had firearms, and he responded that he did. So ultimately, he was charged with two things. He was charged with furnishing, which would be similar to like selling or dealing, and he was charged with being a prohibited person in possession of firearms. And if you look at the way that their statute is worded, it mirrors federal law, the prohibition that's found in 18 USC 922 G3, which is the one that says if you're an unlawful user of or addicted to a controlled substance. And in particular, this statute says that you would be prohibited under federal law in order to be prohibited under the state law. So at trial, the furnishing charge he was found not guilty on, but he was convicted on the other one. So our argument here was a very simple one. Federal courts have essentially said that a single isolated use of marijuana isn't necessarily enough to say that somebody's an unlawful user of or addicted to the substance. In this case, there was no evidence of record that he actually used marijuana. The car didn't reek of marijuana. There weren't roaches or butts in the ashtray. He didn't tell the trooper he had been smoking marijuana or that he smoked marijuana recently or that he ingested it. There's no prior arrests for having marijuana or anything like that. So I thought this was a good case to kind of say like, hey, a single isolated instance, not enough to meet that criteria. So how could he be a prohibited person in possession of?
Well, you make a very good point. I mean, folks out there, I don't care what you believe or don't believe about the use of marijuana. The fact is that if an individual is engaging in legal activity, they should not be subject to losing their fundamental rights. And this is an individual from, Adam, from everything that you've said, did everything he could to make sure he was in compliance with the law, or what he thought the law was. And as a result of that, once again, shouldn't lose his fundamental rights as a result.
That's my position on it. Especially, it's really wacky to say that, like, yes, we as a state have legalized your ability to use this substance, but you can't have your firearms. Now, of course, when we're talking about guns and gun law, there's always two layers. There's federal and state, and they don't always play well together, especially in this particular instance. So,
well, but in this case, we're talking about he's not being pursued by the feds on federal law, right? It's all under state law.
Correct.
Which makes absolutely no sense. So if he had a prescription for Vicodin, and he had Vicodin on him, could he then be prosecuted under the same exact for the same exact reason?
No. So the interesting thing is, if you have a narcotic that's a Schedule I narcotic like marijuana, and it's actually prescribed to you, so you can't be prescribed marijuana, you can't be prescribed anything that's a Schedule I, but say a Schedule II, there's that exemption that because it's prescribed to you, you can lawfully possess it. Now, if I took your prescription and it wasn't mine and I was caught with it, I could potentially have some problems.
Mm-hmm. But one has to wonder why the same sort of exemptions haven't been put in place. Well,
DEA had the opportunity to reclassify marijuana, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, under the Obama administration, but they declined to do so. I believe there's a bill that's floating through Congress now that may potentially change marijuana's classification. I think at this point, it's just a matter of time, especially when you look at the number of states that have legalized it for medicinal purposes, let alone now a few have done it even recreationally. I think it's just a matter of time till you hit that tipping point where the feds are going to have to do something, because the majority of the states have already said, like, look, this is cool by us.
Well, once again, it is always interesting to me to see how people, I don't know if the term is misuse or use the law in order to apparently seems like they do it to go after people who are doing nothing more than trying to be law-abiding citizens, and they just can't be seen, for some reason, just can't seem to be happy with that. No. Anyway, how can folks find out about this case and other work that you're working on for FPC?
Sure. So the easiest place to check it out would be fpclegal.org. All the cases are listed there, case filings, even this one, so you can go check out what we filed in that case. The other option would be social media. We're obviously very big on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So check out gun policy in all those spots, and we'll get you keyed in on everything you need to know.
Excellent. Adam, thank you so much for coming on the program. Look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Yep. Thanks for having me, Craig. Always a pleasure.
All right, everybody. Well, hey, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program, telling your friends about the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them or you're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.